What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Dirty and Driven Podcast, baby. My name is James Davini. I'm your host. Hey, we have an awesome show for you today. Before I get into that, I just want to remind you guys, sticker contest still going on, man. There's not really a contest, but we will give you a sticker if you just leave us a review on Spotify or Apple Podcast and send it over to me. Just send it to us, DM us, Facebook at Dirty and Driven or Instagram at Dirty and Driven, or you can email us at dirtyandriven@gmail.com. Just send me your address and I will personally write a thank you note and send it your way. Do not care where in the world you live. Hey, follow us on social media. Check us out. Share the show. We've just been growing so much every single show, and that is solely from the listeners. I'm so grateful for all of you out there. I know that there's a lot of people I know that listen to the show, and a lot of people I don't know that listen to this show. So thank you guys so much for that. If I don't know you, then I hope one day I get to meet you. Hey, we have a guy named Bill Powell on the show today, a guest that is just absolutely amazing. We'll get to him in a second because I'm just recording a little preview right here before a conversation. But boy, do I have to say, we have had a heck of a time trying to do this show. For one, he came and did it, and we recorded, and he called me after we were done and just said, hey, man, I don't think we gave it all we had. Let's do it again. I said, okay, cool. So we do it again, and we're going great. Things are awesome. He's laying down some fire. 30 minutes in, all of a sudden, the mics quit working, and the screen turns off on the podcast machine. Yeah, then I look over, and my beautiful little angel of a golden retriever decided to get really hyper and step on the power cord and unplug the thing. So, 30 minutes into the show, we have to restart, and that was a challenge. But anyways, we ended up having an amazing conversation. Bill owns Powell Electric here in Ponca City. But he has just an awesome story of tough past, going to prison for 17 years, and then coming out, finding some just good influences in his life and getting better at it. You know, the biggest takeaway that I got from this episode was it does not matter where you are in life. It does not matter what you're doing. You can always make a change, and you can always do better, and you can always strive for more no matter where you're at. Just because you're in a bad spot now doesn't mean you can't fight your way out of it. And that's exactly what he's done. He's just a really awesome guy, really awesome conversation, a man that loves Christ, and I can't speak highly enough of this guy. So, yeah, anyways, here's the conversation, guys. Check it out. Whew. Yeah, we're having some hell trying to record this podcast. Third time's the charm, I guess. Yeah. For all you listeners out there, just know that this is our third attempt. The first one, we weren't feeling
practice
it.
Makes perfect.
Yeah, first one we just weren't feeling. We were 30 minutes in, and then we decided we were going to restart. Then the second one, we're about 20 minutes in, and the dog stepped on the power cord and unplugged the podcast machine, and it did not save our project. So here we are again, coming at you. Anyways, man.
Now we're tired.
Anyways, man, let's just dive straight into it.
Good.
So, all right, I got an off-the-wall question here. The other day, we had someone that commented on our show, and we had our last episode. We had my fiance in here, who's an electrical engineer, and she weighed in on this question. But we discussed this. Somebody made a comment, and I'm curious to see how you respond to this. They said, electrical workers are burger flippers with better pay. He said, prove me wrong. What do you think about that?
My response to that would be...
Talking to that mic, Bill.
That's quite an in-depth burger.
That's quite an in-depth burger.
You know?
Oh, man. Yeah.
Because, man, anyone that can buckle down and pass that burger exam is they need to be flipping burgers.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't even think about that whenever we were talking about all the tests you guys got to take to get certified. But, yeah, I thought that was a pretty funny comment. We talked about it for a while the other day. But
yeah, So,
Yeah, man, just tell me your story. I mean, you got a heck of a story, and I know that there's a lot of people that your story can help and probably already has helped. So, let's just hear it, brother.
typical low income, poverty, mom a drug addict, struggling to raise a couple of boys that at the age of 12 and 13 were bigger than her. So it was a struggle, on the south side of Oklahoma City, and just, a lot of without the stability of a father in the household, you a lot of your idols are people that you shouldn't be, and so you just go through life looking at these people that aren't doing right, but it's all as a male figure. So they lead you down a path that sends you right where we went, and that was prison. And and so it was just a revolving door that just kept us in there, kept me in there constantly. And I would get in there and get my footing and have some stability for a little while. But, I didn't have that foundation. In the Bible, it talks about, building your house on a firm foundation. Well, I didn't know what firm foundation was. So, I would get out, be healthy, get a good job, be working, and end up going back every time because I didn't know how to handle those tribulations I went through,
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, so you spent some time behind bars, and I mean you said 17 years on and off. I mean, that's a long time, man. So how old were you when you decided to start maybe progressing a little bit more than just getting out and getting back in and trying to actually get a good job and have a decent career and all that?
Okay. This was actually this was my fourth incarceration, this last one.
Yeah.
And the prior incarcerations, it was just working out so that I could look better, so that I could get girls, and so that I could, be selfish. This time I was consumed with this new thing I had found, which is Christianity. And so I consumed myself with that and studying for these electrical exams, and that was what drove me this time. And I could care less about about working out or looking good, because I had a new mission in life, and that was to be a better person, and to build something that I had been destroying for my whole adult life. And I was able to achieve these goals that I set forth, and God kept blessing me. And everywhere I'd turn, yes, I was incarcerated, but I kept feeling this peace and this understanding that He gave me, and it opened all these different doors to these different people in my life that wanted success for me, and all these positive male figures who are in my life to this day, who are pillars in this community, who trust me, who are dear to me, who I never had as a child, and now, I don't want to do a lot of name dropping, but there's some people in this town that are big, and they love me and they trust me, and I, am so thankful for the foundation that I've got in this community and been able to play a small part in helping it. You know?
Yeah. So whenever you were getting out, how did you find Christianity in prison? Your cup is empty in there, and so I can't remember the exact number, but prison is mentioned several times in the Bible. Christ is there. I mean, he didn't come to save the righteous, Right.
And if you're willing to accept Him, I've never been to a more spirit-filled church in my life than inside them walls.
Really?
And that's where, he's there for them guys. Them guys are who he's seeking. He wants to turn them lives around in places like that. It's not over at, the mall. It's inside them prisons, where God wants to, because no sin is greater than another. And whether I made bad choices with drugs and alcohol or someone that has too much pride, it's all the same. One's just against the law and one's not. But in God's eyes, they're all the same.
Wow. Powerful. So, I mean, it found you is kind of what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, he found me for sure. And I accepted him with open arms because I had finally had a parent, and I had a parent the whole time, but just never, accepted him, know.
So, going back, and I know you've told me some of this 3 times already, but daggone thing won't record. But, I mean, so you get out and you said after your first or second incarceration, you got a Pell Grant to go to electrical school, basically, or a VOTEC.
I was released from my first or second incarceration, and Mom, knew that I needed some stability. So she said, "Son, why don't you do something? You've been in there this long. Why don't you do something positive with your time?" I said, "Why not?" They were offering a Pell Grant at the time for a couple $1,000, and I needed a car. So that was realistically the motivation that got me in there, and I had a choice of electrical or plumbing. And, I definitely don't like plumbing, because I know what goes through them pipes.
Yeah.
So.
I don't want to be anywhere near that stuff either.
No.
I did that when I was a utility installing sewer lines. And a lot of times what happens when you're installing sewer lines is you hit sewer lines or you're fixing sewer lines. And so,
right.
Oh, man, that was nasty to me. I can't do that stuff.
Yeah, so did a 9-month electrical technologies program at Metro Tech in Oklahoma City. Graduated that and went to work for Delta Electric, who the contractor is Larry Shea, who happens to, at the time, was the Construction Industries Board director. So he signed everybody's license and was a wealth of knowledge, man. The guy knew so much, and he sent us to Independent Electrical Contractors Apprenticeship Program, which was a 2-night-a-week schooling that, gave us the electrical theory behind electrical, the reason for it, rather than just the nuts and bolts of it.
Yeah. Oh, so you got hooked up with him and worked for him, and what'd you do after that?
And then after that, went, got a $1 raise, sold my soul for a Tootsie Roll, I like to call it, and went to work for $1 an hour more for another contractor there in town. And, it was a bad environment and opened a lot of negative doors that caused the next incarceration,
Wow.
regarding drugs and things like that.
Yeah. Wow. So you got incarcerated again, and then was that whenever you lost your journeyman's license?
No, that was I went in that time, and then I think that was my 3rd time, and then 4th time I had got out, was doing really well, was doing electrical work on in the oil field in Midland, Texas. Then, got married, then come back and start doing electrical work on the wind turbines, and went, found out, my wife at the time had been unfaithful, so go through a divorce. After going through the divorce, it was really hard on me, and if you're not rooted, if your seeds aren't rooted in good soil, you'll fail every time. And that's what had happened. I went through that divorce lonely, and that depression just opened the doors for me to just go back to my old behavior. And then once I did that, that's when got locked up, lost my license, because I was in jail waiting, and then I signed for my time, go to prison, and, and was just hungry for something different. Now I'm like 39, 40 years old at the time, and just tired of the same old. And so I, just had at the time wasn't a lot offered in that county jail, but once I got to prison, there was a lot of opportunities to go to church and to see different aspects of what these Christians were getting. And, they were the ones walking across the yard with a smile on their face. They weren't the ones walking around getting in trouble and getting in fights and things like that. They were the ones smiling and having peace, even in a situation like that. So it finally for once intrigued me. Hey man, I'd like to try that out. And I started going to church, man, and just dedicated my life to the Lord. And, and he just opened all these doors, all these paths to where I'm at right now.
Wow. So you serve those times, and then you end up in well, tell me, before we got cut off, you were telling me about your mentor that you met. Tell me again how you came across him.
Okay. In jail, I had lost my license, so get to prison. I'm in the chow hall line, and we're sitting there talking, and he asked me what I used to do, and I said, well, I used to be an electrician, but I lost my license because I was fighting my case in jail. And he said, man, he knew somebody that might be able to help me out. So he gives me Cecil's address. Well, I write a letter, and the next week get a phone call from my case manager to go, that I needed to go to her office. So I go in there, and it's Cecil Wainscott on the phone for me, wants to talk to me, asked me, where I'd like to go, gave me a list of facilities that their program was offered in, got me shipped to that facility, sent me study material, just tutored and mentored me. And that man's probably one of the most important people in my life right now. He opened a lot of doors, and had he not read that letter or just brushed it off, like a lot of bureaucracy like that happens in there, it just gets stuck in a pile. But he got it, opened it up, and opened them doors for me, and took me and I studied it, refreshened up on my stuff, and was able to go pass my journeyman's exam, retest. And after passing it, I said, you know what? I've already got all my hours in. Why don't I just continue this and take my contractors? So I studied for, another 4 or 5 months and took my unlimited contractor's exam. And then once I passed it, I just left it inactive and stayed working as a journeyman. And then a couple of people in town, kept telling me, I had worked with them side by side for quite a while, and they really seen potential in me that I didn't see in myself, and said, why don't you, activate your license and we'll get you some work. And that started 2019, beginning of 19, with a church van and a couple $1,000 in my pocket.
You were living in Oklahoma City. How did you get here?
DOC, Department of Corrections, sent me to Bridgeway to do the last part of my sentence there.
Did you have a choice in that, or did they just send you here?
No, I didn't. They just sent me here. It was just, God had a plan, but no, there was no reason for it. It just luck of the draw.
Yeah. So then you get out, and all you've got's a bag of clothes on your shoulder and a job is pretty much it, isn't it?
Yeah. So I am discharged from Bridgeway and go apartment hopping, and everyone denying me because of my felonies. And at 10:30 at night, a good friend of mine who's a good friend to this day, we do all his electric work for multiple of his investment properties he has here in town. I seen he had a listing on Marketplace for a crappy little 1-bedroom duplex on Oak Street, and I'll tell you what, that little duplex was I was sure thankful for it.
Yeah.
So he tells me I can move in. I set my bag down, stuck my feet out in that empty apartment, and took a picture of my boots and posted it on Facebook. Said, "With these boots, I'm going to tackle the world." And here we are today.
Yeah. So that's when you first get out. And what kind of community do you have around you at that point? Whenever on that day,
man.
who did you have? I mean,
Boy, James, that was a scary day because I literally had, just a handful of, honestly, at that time, they were just acquaintances. Mm-hmm. I didn't have no family, no friends. They were just guys that knew what I could be and the potential I had in me, but I sure didn't, and now that I look back on it, sure, you've got this license, you've got this work ethic, you're trustworthy, because at this point I had been working with them for over a year and they knew me pretty well. So they saw all these key components that could be successful that I didn't, because of my upbringing and instability in life. I didn't see it, but they did, and they was like, "Hey, come on," and took a chance. And I, done some projects with several of them, and the success happened overnight, it seemed like. And then, and a big factor was the legalization of marijuana, which I don't partake in, but it was like the oil boom is how I talk about it. It's the marijuana industry is like the oil boom for electricians, because at the time I started in this community, everybody, because it takes electricity to grow marijuana.
A
lot of electricity. So everybody, and we would do one project and it would turn out good. So then they would tell this person and this person, and we were doing them consistently, and it was just a blessing, as far as the financially, because we were able to accomplish so much in such a short amount of time due to this, this industry,
Wow. So back up a little bit and tell me about how you actually got started in business. So you go from, how did you go from bag of clothes on the floor to, with no furniture and nothing, to, okay, I got my first electrical job?
Like I said, I didn't purchase that duplex with the assumption that it was going to be smooth sailing.
Yeah.
It was just like a couple of good friends who are pillars in this community, who own a lot of businesses, who are big time financial people in this town, where I had interacted with them, and they seen it in me, so they took these chances on me and threw me some projects. So, and I still work with them all today, to this day. And, in our projects have evolved to countless things in the community that we've done and been blessed to be a part of.
So did you just meet them through the job you were working before?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was, because I know that you've talked about how integral they are to you, and so I was going to say, most of these guys aren't just investing in every dude who comes out of prison or out of Bridgeway or anything like that.
No, relationships are built over time, and it took time to, and I wouldn't be on this podcast had I not been able to let these people get this opinion of me prior to talking about this.
Yeah.
This is something I kept under the cuff for years, because I didn't want to be judged by that black and white paper that says who I am. I wanted to be judged by who I am today and the opinion you have of me today. I wouldn't be on this podcast if I thought it was a negative, because at this point I've been able to just reach out and build a foundation in this community that I hope is a positive one. I hope is a strong one. I hope, because I do everything I can to be a part of everything possible in this community. Every event, every donation, our posters are at every school, and it's because I feel like it's a duty to give back to something that's been so good to me.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, that's important for sure. So I think it's cool how you told me you got your first, basically kind of setup, your first van, all that. Tell me about that.
I just traded some electric work and some cash to Baptist Church on Grand for one of the old vans they were selling. And that's where it all started, in that old church van I bought and would just park it at my old duplex in the evening, and that's what I started the company in, was that church van.
It's an old church van. Trade some electrical work for a church van.
And now we have 4 service trucks, and we have 3 crews, and we have bucket trucks and trenchers, and
Do you still have the van?
No. I donated the van.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. Paying it forward.
Yeah, I donated it. Yeah.
So, and then you walked in, was it before or after that? You walked into the bank and basically was begging and pleading for them to take a chance on you.
Yeah. Well, I went into, one of our local bank branches, and I had an account there, and they're just doing some banking, and I had seen this little property on Greenwood, and fell in love with it. It was a little bitty house, but it had a not a big shop, but a shop big enough for me. And so I went in the bank, and as I'm walking out, I was like, can't hurt to try. So I go, and I said, talk to the receptionist. I said, is there anybody that I could talk to about a loan? I've never got a loan in my whole life. I have never had a bank account till this point, So here I am, a 40-something-year-old guy, who's never done any banking in his life, and I'm just asking the receptionist, is somebody in here that can help me get a loan? Well, luckily it was the vice president of the bank who happened to be walking by and said, come on in, he can help me. So I go in there, and fast forward 2.5 hours later, after giving this guy this same story I'm telling you, and just kind of just opening it all out, just telling him, hey, I this is what the truth is. I hope that you can see past it and take a chance on me. And since that interaction, I mean, God, we've done so many things, me and that guy. He's another one that God put in my path that turned out to be just invaluable to me. He's so important to me, and every financial decision I make, it goes through him. His wife, they're great friends of mine now, and and none of this success would have been possible without him, who was such a key factor to it all.
Wow, that's amazing that you're able to meet these connections in such a short amount of time.
Yeah,
because that's basically 2019 to now, isn't it?
Yeah, beginning of I've been in the community since 17, but Powell Electric actually got really moving and rolling in the beginning of 19.
Yeah.
So
that takes, I'm sure that was not an easy time to be a business owner. You've grown from just you to now you're responsible for 5 guys,
nine
bills,
guys.
Sorry, 5, 9 guys. Sorry, 5 rhymes with 9, I guess. Yeah, 9 guys, and
9 guys. We just purchased my 11th investment property. Like I said, I have 4 service trucks, 3, 1 I keep as a backup, and 3 that are consistently working daily.
Yeah.
And
how did you grow from just you in a van to that in such a short amount of time? Not to mention the COVID factor.
Honestly, we never seen a slowdown. I mean, I don't know why, but I think we hit it pre-COVID and had just kind of developed a foundation in the community prior to COVID actually coming on strong, which allowed us to stay working through it,
Yeah.
and we honestly never seen a downtick during COVID. And a lot of people did, and we never did.
Yeah.
I mean, I was still consistently hiring even through COVID.
Yeah, and that's something I want to point out because, I mean, that's something that didn't slow down at all during COVID was any of the trades.
Yeah.
In fact, if anything, it sped up.
Yeah. I think a lot of it was just everyone being at home and just noticing what needed done in their homes and in their businesses and just taking the leaps of faith because they're so unsure about the, financial and government situations that they just took these chances. And I think that's a lot of the reasoning for, not slowing down during COVID.
So what was it like going from, I mean, how have you learned about business? Is it just learning it day by day? Or?
Oh, wow. Man,
that's a whole other aspect.
Oh, man. I mean, I look back on it now and I really got a fast crash course in it, and honestly, again, I know I've said this time and time again, but it's listening to people that are experienced.
Yeah.
Never feel like you don't need to learn something. And that's what these people, there's a lot of people in this town that has really just took me under their wing and just told me how to do things and when to do things and what to do, and can't even believe that they would give me that opportunity to not only befriend me, but be able to just give me some of that knowledge that they worked hard getting, and allow these opportunities for me to just pass it on to other people. And I got the blessing of going to Lexington Correctional Center and speaking to several guys at the career tech there on the yard, and I donated a building in honor of my fiance that passed away, and I donated money for their building to be built that teaches these guys trades. I didn't want to buy flowers or a statue or something. I wanted to actually give her a legacy that's tangible, that's producing this fruit, if you will, and that building will be producing fruit way after I'm gone. And that's what it was about. I didn't want something trivial. I wanted something that actually, had some meat behind it. And through Cecil Wainscott, me and him done a lot of praying and trying to figure out the logistics of it. And, if you're familiar with anything government, the bureaucracy is crazy. So we couldn't talk about it really for about a year until it was finalized, and then it finally happened, and I was able to have the building built and have a plaque that has a Ralph Waldo Emerson quote on it that says, "It's not the length of life, but the depth of life."
Wow.
And it says, "In memory of Denise Marie Chancellor" on the front of it. And I got to go to that building and talk to several inmates and who are in the licensed trade program there at the yard, and just tell them a little bit about myself and about my story and how it happened for me, which was God. How they can do it too. It's not rocket science, because I'm not all that sharp, and if I can do it, they can do it. And it just all boils down to having some integrity and just doing what's right. When you got a choice to make the right one. You'll know the path you're leading's right by the fruit you're producing. If you're struggling, if you're having strife, you maybe need to reevaluate how you're doing this.
Wow. So what would you say to those people that are getting out that have walked the same road you have?
Yeah.
What would you say to those guys that, maybe they're coming up on 40 years old like you were, and nothing's changed. They've been in and out. They've had just a hard, rough life.
Yeah. Man, don't be too proud. Don't be too proud to say, "Hey, I'm not the strongest. I'm not the sharpest. I'm not the, just humble yourself. Get in a skilled trade program as fast as possible and start right now, because your skilled trades, it's the only opportunity you're going to have to make college type money with a felony on your record.
Wow.
And do it as fast as possible, because this stuff doesn't happen overnight. The success won't happen overnight, but it will happen if you have some patience, if you have some integrity, if you do what's right, and you're willing to work hard for a little while. Because after a little while, you don't got to work hard, but just for a little while, you do.
Wow. That's absolutely amazing just to hear that. And that goes for guys right out of high school, too, that don't know what they want to do.
Sure.
I mean, the trades, opportunity is only getting greater in the trades.
Oh, man, yeah.
If you are not a living, breathing example of the opportunity that you can have in the trades in a short amount of time, I don't know who is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my success happened because timing and putting God first in my life. God knew all this way before I did. He knew these doors were right where we're opening right at the right time, and I didn't have a clue. And this community has just embraced me and accepted me, and man, but there's accountability though. You've got to be accountable for every situation in your life. And I don't take none of this success for granted. That's why I'm really hard on my guys, because man, I feel like I'm behind the 8 ball already because of my past. So I feel like I have to produce a product that's leaps and bounds better and, more dependable than anyone else because of my past. And another thing is I don't accept less than from my guys. I hold my guys to a high standard, and I believe that's why we've been successful, is because I don't accept my guys not putting forth 100%.
Yeah. That's amazing, dude. I mean, so many things that we've been able to talk about tie in so well to our last episode, which is just convenient timing. But we talked about the standard of excellence last week, and always having that. The devil's in the details is really what we harped on. And if you follow the details and you take care of the details, the big picture takes care of itself.
Yeah.
It's as simple as cleaning your truck at the end of the day, and it's as simple as sweeping the floor of the house you just worked on. And those little things make all the difference.
Yeah.
Because a lot of guys don't do that.
And because that customer sees that and appreciates that, and they're gonna tell everybody else around them. Everyone they interact with, hey, this is the guy. And again, I mean, I'll walk through Walmart and get pulled one direction and another by the old lady or the old gentleman that sees me and recognizes me and says, "Hey, Bill, how you doing?" And I'm not just doing a job. I'm really getting a friend, because I'm a people person, man. And anyone I do a job with, I have a connection with. I mean, I to this day I see customers and I'm friends with them all, because I love this stability that this job has offered me, and this communication with the community, this interaction with them, and yeah.
Dude, I mean, that is just absolutely amazing. I think that's so great. One of the other greatest pieces of advice I've ever heard is you make a friend, you make a sale. It sounds like that's what you do.
Well, I mean, they call me when they're in need, and they, and when I'm able to go there and make them happy, and they're comfortable with the whole situation, it's always a great thing for both of us. I mean, they're happy, I'm happy, and I'm a people person. I love meeting new people, and and that's what this community's offered me, is just so many friends.
That's great, man. And this community, it pours into people who pour into it. I've experienced that firsthand.
Absolutely.
Wow. And
it's a different community than I've ever been to. I mean, I was born and raised in Oklahoma City on the south side, and it's just a rugged environment. And now I'll go visit family on the weekends, and I'm so happy to get back to home where I've built roots and built a foundation that God talked about in his word that is stable, can withstand the test of time and the devil, throwing whatever he wants to throw, because, you have these solid pillars in your life,
Yeah. So what are the biggest things whenever you take these guys in, especially whenever you take in the Bridgeway guys and the ex-felons and all that, any employee you bring in, what are the biggest lessons that you want to make sure that you get to them?
Well, by the time they come to me, they've already been vetted through Cecil, who, with Career Tech, and we check their licensing. We do drug testing. We, look at their, we sit down and have conversations with them prior to employment, and really we get the best of the best, because we don't just go grab guys at Bridgeway. They have to be specifically sent there for us. We don't have the ability to just hire anybody from there. They're kind of handpicked from Career Tech and kind of funneled to us for a specific reason after they've went through several processes before we hire them.
Yeah. But, I'm just saying, because nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
You were saying you're pretty hard on them. You want to make sure that they do a great job, and you invest them in that way. Just what are the biggest things that you want to make sure that they know?
Just like we talked about, I don't accept anything, forgive me, half-ass.
Yeah.
I want you to be courteous. I want you to be clean. I want you to, wear company shirts and hats. I want you to have your company truck looking nice, organized. Because if we do all them things, then that customer sees it. Mm-hmm. That customer appreciates it. That customer says, hey, man, this guy's in a decent vehicle with a decent, work clothes, cleaning up after himself and doing a good job at a reasonable price. Mm-hmm. And, and that speaks volume. You don't have to have a $20,000 advertising budget if you just do that.
Yeah. Wow. So, and I'll just ask you a couple more questions when we wrap this up, but back in the very beginning, you go from just you to now you got 9. How did you make your first hire? Like, when did you know it was time? Like, that's a scary thing for a lot of people, and a lot of people don't ever do that.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's so much red tape you got to, with work comp, with general liability, with bonding, with commercial auto insurance. And there's so many things that are intimidating. And that's the thing. And again, I fall back to these mentors that guided me through all these processes, that have experience, that were willing to just sit down with me and say, man, okay, here, do X, Y, and Z, and, and pour all this knowledge into me because they liked me, because they seen something in me, because they trusted me. And so through that, I was able to, tackle all these hurdles that I thought were unattainable.
Yeah. Just mentally, did you just know it was time? Were you just like, man, I can't keep up. I have to have someone.
Because, when you're first starting out, you can't really work with employees without workman's comp. And then, that's a big check to write. And so you're intimidated by it. So, but at some point you're just consistently getting this business that you realize, if I want to grow, or if I want this success, and a lot of it was Cecil, communicating with him and him telling me, hey, this is how you do these things, because he was an electrical contractor. He had a contracting company, and he talking to him every night on the phone for hours on end, just spilling into me, the do's and don'ts and the trials that he went through and what I needed to avoid. And I'm telling you, it's a God thing. It's just God literally putting all these right pieces to the puzzle, if you will.
Yeah.
You know, just putting all these people that literally opened these doors for me and pointed in the right direction, and you know, and with their experience being spilled into me and my work ethic and just people trusting me through who I am today, not who I was yesterday, allowed all these opportunities to happen.
Wow. A couple constant themes I've seen in your story is, you know, for one, not being too proud, because you can't be proud if you're going to hire people.
Oh, man.
If you're too proud, you won't ever let them do any of the work. And if you're doing all the work, what's the point of having your employees?
And every one of my guys that I hire, you know, the first thing I'll tell them is, hey, I'll have way more respect for you if you come up and tell me you don't know how to do something than I will if you do something and mess it up. You know, and I have zero pride, because who am I to be prideful? I'm nobody. I mean, God's blessed me with this success, but it's at the end of the day, I know who I am, and I'm nobody without putting Christ first, you know, and trusting that He's going to be that rock to lean on and that thing to attain, that reason to keep doing what I'm doing, you know?
Yeah, that's amazing. And another key takeaway is it doesn't matter who someone is. It doesn't matter how successful they are. I feel like most people are willing to invest in someone who is willing to go after it.
Right.
I mean, obviously you were. I've had that in my life, and you found some of these guys, and they had no true reason to invest in you and pour into you like they haven't, but they have. Yeah,
and like I said earlier, I wouldn't be doing this podcast if this was 2 years ago. Because for my first couple years, I fought adamantly to keep that, you know, squashed, and for no one to know that, because I wanted the opportunity for every interaction I had to be a clean slate.
Yeah.
I wanted every person, every customer that I spoke to, every acquaintance that I met, I wanted them to walk away saying, building a little bit of trust and a little bit of just camaraderie, and just realizing and judging me by that alone, not by some story they heard or something they read in black and white. I wanted them to look at me and judge my character for what it is today. And overwhelmingly, that's what's happened, is just everyone has just literally, I mean, I can't even begin to count the people that in this community that have just opened their doors to me and just literally just trust me with like I'm family, you know. And to be able, you know, in the Bible it says you'll never be a disciple in your own hometown, and I may be misreferencing this, but it's basically saying that, you know, you're always going to be judged by your people in your own hometown. And that's so true, because no one knew me here, and I was able to start this fresh and clean, and that's a big factor in all the success we've had, is just people getting to know them, who I am today.
Yeah, that's amazing. That really is cool. I mean, and I just kind of want to end it with this, is it doesn't matter where you are in life, and it doesn't matter what you've been through. You can change. It doesn't matter if you're just beginning your life. If you're 18 years old and you just got out of high school, you can change, and you can go and you can do something great in the trades without a college degree and all that, and you can make it happen. There's opportunity. Yeah. Or if you're 40 years old and you have just been living a rough life, can't talk, and all that, I mean, you can turn it around, man. There's opportunity, and that opportunity can first be through God, and the other opportunities come from just getting yourself out there and letting people know that, hey, I want better for myself. And I think that truly someone who wants to be great and somebody who wants to be better, other people can feel that, and they can see that, and they will gladly pour into you.
Yeah.
Even if you don't have anybody right now, if you put yourself in those positions and you just make yourself better every day, you will find those people.
Yeah. And just live life with some integrity, man, and just whatever decision you're making, make the right one.
Yeah. Well, man, we've been rolling on our third attempt. We're now at 50 minutes. We probably got 2 hours in this podcast altogether, but 50 minutes actually made it. Do you have any last words of wisdom that you want to tell these guys and girls?
Just stay strong. Just, put God first and just show love to everyone around you. And, it's hard to pinpoint just one thing to say, but I mean, I would have to say it with just love and integrity. Just show love and live your life with some integrity. Do what's right when people ain't looking.
Yeah, exactly. That's absolutely amazing. Well, I'm going to end it on a lighthearted note. What is I'm going to ask you two. One, have you ever gotten in yourself? I'm sure you've been shocked a few times. What is the sketchiest experience you've had working electrical stuff?
I guess one time we were doing the Cleveland County Health Department, and we couldn't kill the power on these 2 hallways because they were painting. So I'm wiring up these 2x4 fixtures, and this is early 2000. And it's high voltage. It's 277, and I'm at the point where 2 hallways are meeting. Well, I'm young, kid. I've been at this for couple years, so I know it all, or I thought. So I'm like gonna go ahead and wire all these fixtures hot. So I'm up there wiring them. I'm working my way down this hallway. And instead of getting down and scooting my ladder over, I just climbed to the very top of my ladder and leaned over the steel rafters. And the neutral load hit me. And so it was shocking me. And I had no choice but to just kick the ladder out from underneath me. And when I came to, I was sitting there in a puddle of blood in this brand new carpet.
Oh, no. Not the
where the ceiling grid had tore down and cut my finger nearly off. And
ooh.
That was getting shocked is the best teacher. It humbles you, and you respect it after that.
Yeah.
So after that, we never really took it for granted after that.
It doesn't forgive.
No.
God, that sounds horrible. Oh man. So everybody makes fun of electricians, as we talked about earlier. They're probably the most made fun of trade out there.
They make fun of them because they want to be them.
They say that they don't ever get dirty. They're always clean. Our boy Corey, he's always making fun of another electrician that we talk to a lot. He always tells me he has those soft baby hands, and, never getting dirty. But what is the dirtiest job? And it doesn't have to be electrical work. What's the dirtiest job you've ever had?
Probably wiring a pump in a wastewater treatment plant.
Yuck.
Yeah.
Yuck.
That's about as dirty as it gets.
I'll pass on that.
Me too.
Oh, man.
I'm thankful to be able to tell somebody else to do it now.
No, that just sounds disgusting. Oh. All right, last one. We do this with all our guests. Well, we try to do it with all our guests, but sometimes we suck at remembering this. What is your favorite gas station food?
Favorite gas station
The fine dining 5-star restaurants of the trades.
Drum roll, please.
I think I have a drum roll button.
Oh, 70s. Yeah.
It's not that one either. I'm really great at podcasting. Nope. I don't know, man.
But we're going with the infamous barbecue burrito.
Oh, man. The barbecue burrito. Yeah. Is that the frozen one?
No. I mean, it's in the old,
the hot box.
Heater lamp,
Man, I'll pass on that. That'll tear me up.
It's the lesser of several evils.
Is there a certain gas station you prefer?
No? I mean, I think the same old boy delivers them to everyone in North America.
Same across the board. Oh man, that's two weeks in a row. Someone said burritos from gas stations.
Yeah.
I've only had one experience with the gas station burrito, and I wasn't even the one who ate it. We had a kid on our crew that I was working on. We were doing some parking lot work in Tractor Supply, and he he stopped at the gas station, bought one. I said, man, you don't want to do that. It was his first day on the job. I said, man, you don't want to do that. I said, trust me. I've seen many men try, many men fail. And he ate it. I think he grabbed the freezer one, though, and heated it up in the microwave. Yeah. That joker sat in the bathroom tractor spot. He messaged me on Facebook and said, hey, man, let me know when the asphalt gets here because I am hurting right now. I said I'm going to stay in here until it gets here.
That's funny.
But anyways. All right, man. Well, that was a great show. I really appreciate why am I not able to talk today? I really appreciate you coming on, and it's been great. I really hope your story reaches somebody who needs it. I think it will. Yeah. And I'm excited you got on here and opened up about it.
Absolutely, man. It was my pleasure, James. And anything I can do for this podcast or this community, don't hesitate to ask.
Oh yeah, man. Well, we'll probably have you back on sometime. I'm curious to see where you go. I mean, you're still young in business, and you ain't been doing it for that long, so only a few years, and so I'm sure that sky's the limit.
Yeah.
So, all right, man. Well, I got to make it to my next place, so we'll log off here. Thanks, everyone.